SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Restaurants throughout the Southeast that support local catfish farmers and serve it up right. Grilled, fried, or blackened, po' boys, salads, or tacos. Every restaurant on the Catfish Trail has a dish worth stopping for. Find your new favorite restaurant at uscatfish.com.
Morning.
Good morning to you and welcome to Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes in on Friday. Had a little blip last week. I celebrated Fluvember early this year. And it's so weird because this is like the third year in a row. Right in the first half of January, we've had illness in the house. And then the rest of the year, we're fine. That's just the danger zone, I guess. In the booth, as always, Lance Tolbert. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. We look forward to Wintergeddon this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, there's always excitement to get aroused by. Nothing going on in the world, just the winter storm.
Yes, well, if you follow any media accounts of anyone anywhere, that's all that's been talked about since about Monday.
Yeah, it's something. It's shifted around a bit. We'll get to weather and discuss that. We'll have, obviously, a much more in-depth update today from the National Weather Service, but I'll give us our normal weather this morning. But it's wet here. You're hoping that you don't have too much of that to worry about, right? You know, the rain hopefully dies down as the temperatures start dropping, which looks like that starts really probably tomorrow night. And in certain areas of the state, it could get a hard chill. In other areas, it could be right on the edge, it looks like. But just hoping we don't have the rain to go along with it. But from the forecast, it looks like that actually is still going to be a possibility all around the state. So I don't know how you're batting down there, but being in South Mississippi.
The word of the day and the word of the weekend is timing.
Yeah.
It comes down to timing. When does that subarctic freezing temperature weather get here in relation to when the rain moves out?
Yeah, I learned something every day doing this, and yesterday I started using the Euro model a little bit as far as from the forecasting, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's very interactive, but it looks like around the 23rd, the temps start pushing as far as that low pressure that we're worried about a little bit. So, and it kind of continues rolling along until about the 25th as it starts kind of clearing through. So, as far as what that brings with it, who knows at this point? I've seen reports on basically the Arctic Circle moves here into the south, and I've seen other reports where it may be where we're right on the line, or in some cases, some of Mississippi may get a bit of that. But I know they're even worried out in Houston and areas like that about the winter storm. So it's going to have a large swath of the country that it's going to affect.
There is a mountainous region in New Mexico that is expecting its forecast to get 3 feet of snow this weekend. Ooh. That's in New Mexico, southern New Mexico. What people don't, I think, really fully grasp about this. I mean, we're used to the Northeast getting bad winter weather. That's their job. That's what they do. They allow us to watch them suffer through it and go, man, I'm glad I live in the South. This storm system, this Arctic air mass that's moving in and the associated precipitation going with it is going to affect 35 states, from all the way out in the New Mexico area all the way up to the eastern seaboard. It's 185 million people that live in the area that's going to be affected by this.
Yeah. It's a doozy, man.
This is an enormous weather event. It's not unique in history. If someone tells you that, you have Uncle Dave's permission to slap them. It's not unique in all of human history, as everything has to be these days.
You got to sell it, though. You know, it's got to have a marketing ploy to it.
Everything is a sales job now. Everything.
Everything. I mean, I come in the mornings, and even early in the morning, you know, that they're just commercials. You know, you're sold, and I think we've become used to that pretty much. And it's just everything is got an advertisement to it, and I think weather's kind of become that way a little bit, where you know they want you to tune in, you need to go buy some things. It is the South, so obviously we're not used to this as much, but we'll be okay. You know, we can hunt deer and skin them and catch gators, and we've got side-by-sides, and folks here know. It's just the fact that it's a grand inconvenience in most cases. And the other side of it is, if you're going to be traveling, folks, you know, work around this. This is not going to be a good situation for a road trip.
No.
So wherever you're going and get there today, tomorrow, but try to just stay put. Don't do too much traveling if you don't have to. And if things aren't as bad as they are reported, that's wonderful. If they are, then you're safe. Just make sure you have some of the basic things.
The old expression applies here: plan for the worst, hope for the best. And where you're going to wind up is somewhere in between those two extremes almost every time.
Yeah, and I've always learned with this stuff, just stay off the roads. That's generally where all of the bad stuff is going to happen, is going to be somewhere on the road, going somewhere, coming from somewhere. So plan in advance, and I think we'll be able to get through this together and maybe have a little bit of fun. You might get a couple of days off of work or something. Just be careful.
You know, might wind up having, if the roads are passable, have to invite you down here, because you talked about the you know, if everything goes south, that, you know, we know how to hunt, we know how to skin and cook and process and everything. I married a Cajun woman. She has recipes for things other people call exterminators for.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, there was a cat I saw on the side of the road coming out yesterday, and I felt terrible for it, but I like, you know, somewhere due south of us, somebody could eat that. Or if you were up in a park in Minnesota, or where was it, where they were eating the geese and all the pets and stuff? Was Chicago or so? I can't remember.
No, it wasn't Chicago. No. I'm wanting to say that was Minnesota.
Yeah, they've had some issues up there in Minnesota. It doesn't seem like the cold weather affects all the crazy up there.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, the crazy tends to ignore the weather conditions.
It must. Well, speaking of weather, let's get you guys a weather forecast this morning. We'll start on the coast, mostly cloudy today, high near 66, 20% chance of showers tonight. You should have some wind gusts, low around 49 degrees. And then Saturday showers are likely. Thunderstorms are also possible. You get a high near about 64, so you won't have too much to worry about on the coast tomorrow than rain. And then through Saturday night as well, 54 should be the low. Chance of the wet stuff is 80%, and then through Sunday as well. So it does look like you're not as much worried until you get to Sunday night on the coast. Sunday night on the coast, the low is around 24 degrees, and you still have a 20% chance of showers. So yeah, that's the night you got to worry about the most right now. And then as you get into the week, next week, temps will be cold, but it doesn't look like there will be any precipitation, you know, coupled with that. We'll look here now at the northern portion of the state. It'll be a little bit of a different forecast. 38 low today, mostly cloudy, pretty good wind gusts of about 30 miles an hour. I have a chance of snow and sleet before 2 a.m. tonight. Then a chance of sleet throughout the morning, and as you get into the sun cracking open. The low will be about 17 degrees tonight in the northern portion of the state. 30 mile an hour winds, and a chance of the wet stuff of whatever type it may be. Snow, sleet accumulation, maybe about a half inch if possible, and that's up to 80%. So pretty big probability there. Saturday, sleet mixed with snow and freezing rain, likely before 9 a.m. May see some as you go through the day. The sleet could be heavy at times, so be extremely careful if you're getting out tomorrow morning, because you will have had a hard freeze the night before. The high tomorrow in North Mississippi looks to be around 22. Wind chill values could be 2. 2.
That's 2, and then a decimal, and then a 0.
2. 0. It'll be windy as heck tomorrow. So again, if you're out, you're going to get pushed around on that ice. You should also tomorrow be aware that there's 100% chance of whatever may come down. So new ice, less than what we were seeing earlier in this, but it is definitely going to be accumulating on top of what was there. Could be up to or over an inch. So be careful. And then Saturday night, much of the same. You know, it's just kind of copy and paste when it comes to what the northern portion of the state's looking at for the next few days. Temperatures extremely low, pretty good wind. chance of the wet stuff is 90, 80, 100%, and new ice and accumulation could be layering on top of that through Monday morning. So if you're in the north portion of the state right now, that is the spot that looks the most dangerous. East and west, we'll get to that here in a minute with the Delta and the Meridian and eastern portion of the state as we'll go to a break. But I can probably get Meridian for you now. Patchy fog this morning, so be careful out and about. Should have some wind gusts as well. Be about 55 degrees today over in the eastern portion of the state. Tonight, down to 34, wind gusts up to 20 miles an hour. So, again, if you've had any precipitation, it doesn't look like you'll get that early. But if it starts coming this evening, be careful. Rain will happen early morning tomorrow on the eastern portion of the state. Shouldn't have to worry about a freeze, though. It's 47 degrees, and chance of precipitation is 80%. But as you get to Monday, again, you may have some of this lingering. You're right or hovering around that 34, 35 range Saturday night and Sunday night. So just be careful if you're over in the eastern portion of the state because you'll be in that area where we just don't know. And then Sunday night, it'll get down to 16. So anything that's been lingering as far as the wet stuff is definitely going to start freezing. And then I'll get you the Delta when we come back on the other side.
The Delta is the one we really need to look at because they're going to
a bunch of hunters over there too. Yeah,
they're going to take a punch to the chin. We will continue on mornings on this Snowpocalypse Friday morning here on
from the Venable Glass Traffic.
Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
That is hilarious because I was just night before last on YouTube. I rewatched the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast of Red Fox. So that's perfect.
Yeah, I love Sanford and Son, man. Actually, as a kid, that was one of my favorites. We had my uncle Sonny had an old green Ford truck that was similar to the Sanford and Son truck, and my dad ended up purchasing it off of him when I was probably in my early teens, and it was a two-wheel drive, and it was old. I mean, it was in the 50s, and I don't even know why he bought it. I think he was just like, it was sentimental value. And it was exactly the same truck as the Sanford and Son one, but it was kind of like a real rusted out kind of green and worn. And you could hear him on Fridays. He would take it to work because he would bring it back and load the dogs up and head to deer camp and be gone. So he would always have, kind of this ritual. But the beagles, and I was just telling this story. It was funny yesterday because somebody was asking about dog hunting. But we had a pack of about 12, 14 beagles. And they could hear him leave the office 10 miles away in that truck. And they'd start, and I knew the neighbors had to be, our neighbors were the nicest people in the world because for my whole life we had a pack of beagles in a neighborhood that literally, loved to bugle, but it was a lot of fun. You would know when Dad left for lunch and was coming home because those beagles, if they heard that truck, man, they knew they were headed to the camp. And they'd be gone for 3 months. So let's get over to the Delta forecast because there are a lot of people that have been over there since Thanksgiving and probably do not want to come home for this. And I don't blame you because I was the same way and my dad the same way. So if you're over in the Delta, you're getting your hunting in. Excuse me there. You're probably going to have some terrible weather. But if you are into hunting, it's usually a lot of fun. So today,
that's what I was going to say. If you're over there and you don't want to leave in advance of this, just lock those plans in over the next, I'd say, 8 hours, because after that you don't need to leave. You're not going to be able to leave.
It's always a debate too when you're up there, and we have a pretty large club. It's a lot of fun. I haven't been able to go as much this year, but when you get to this, there's always you staying? Are you going to ride it out? And everybody's kind of looking at each other like, you're hoping you're one of the only 3 that decided to stick around and the other 50 or so went home, because it is pretty cool when you have thousands of acres and it's all frozen and there's nobody there. It is really peaceful and unique. You feel like you're, like in Water World, but frozen or something. You just don't see people, So if you're going to stick around the Delta this weekend, or if you are over there and deciding to come home, let's give you that forecast so you kind of know what to do here. Today, patchy fog before 10 a.m. Otherwise, it's cloudy, high near 46 degrees. We'll have some wind gusts in the 20-mile-an-hour range and up to 30 maybe. That'll be coming out of the north to northeast, so you'll start feeling some of that cool air. Chance of freezing rain tonight before midnight. Probably mostly rain at this point, but you could have some freezing rain. Cloudy, low around 24 degrees. If you're getting that rain, it will likely freeze if it's hanging on things. Power lines, trees, and things like that. Northeast winds of up to 30 miles an hour. So as I said, that cool breeze will be pushing through. You will have a chance of wet stuff at 60%. And new ice accumulation is, at this point, up to about a tenth of an inch to maybe an inch. So, again, tonight is very similar to North Mississippi. This is the crucible. It starts tonight, and you got to be very careful. Saturday, you will have freezing rain and sleet. It could be heavy at times, high near 28 degrees in the morning. North winds of around 15 miles an hour could gust up to 25 miles an hour. The chance of rain, sleet, snow, ice, whatever it is 100% on Saturday in the Delta. New ice accumulation will be much like it was the day before. You could see even up to or more than an inch. It may be a little bit heavier on Saturday than what you'll see on Friday night. Saturday night, freezing rain and sleet, and it will be coming all freezing rain after midnight. Some thunder is also possible, so that will be another added layer to the Snowmageddon. Low of 21, north winds with gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. And again, for Saturday night, you're looking at 100% precipitation chance. New precipitation amounts between 3/4 and 1 inch are possible. So what I'm saying here is tonight, it'll be a little. Tomorrow night will be a little more. And Saturday night should be even more. So through this 24-hour period in the Delta, you may have up to a couple of inches of accumulation in certain areas, and that's nasty. And you know how some of the roads are in the Delta. They have the trucker pit where the tires have kind of wallered it out over years. So those are the areas you really want to be careful with.
That's what I was going to point out. If you were doing the math while Lance was running through that, that's a possibility of over 2 inches of ice accumulation.
Maybe 3, yeah.
To put that in perspective, between 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 an inch of ice accumulation, that's when the power lines start going down.
That's right. And basically it's like an ice cube. It's frozen solid. Yep. It is, you could go ice skating on this stuff. I wouldn't try that on any of your ponds or anything, but definitely the ice accumulation can be thick and very hard, will be very slippery. And then fast forward to Sunday, it's much the same. 90% chance of rain, sleet, snow, a lot of wind out of the north. You get to Sunday night, you're looking at a low of around 9. 9, yeah. So Sunday night again. It kind of ramps up if you're in the Delta. It's going to be like a bunch of paper cuts as far as the slow death goes. So you just got to be prepared, especially if you're over in the Delta. There's certain areas that are very remote. If you need to get into town and get things, today's the day to do that. It's not going to be tonight or tomorrow. If you are hunting and you do not want to come in, go to the country store, go to the gas station, get all the things you need to get, because it is going to potentially get nasty out there. And it's not going to just stop. This is something that's going to continue for several days. And then as you get to Monday night, think of your low of around 8. Tuesday morning, it'll start warming up to 35. So if you're in the frozen solid portion of the Delta and North Mississippi, you're looking at Monday night into Tuesday morning before temperatures start changing.
So what we're saying is, if you're still there tonight by 8 o'clock, you are there until Tuesday at the earliest.
Yes, that's kind of the point. So if you like being marooned and you don't want to come home, and there's stuff that a lot of honeydew things you think you may get roped into, and you are at the cabin, you just say, "Hey, I got a flat tire," and you maybe come back Tuesday. So that's what it looks like. If you folks are curious, the Euro forecast, I just type in Eurocast, and it has the North Atlantic, and that really covers pretty much all of the the central out to around Colorado and that area east of the United States. And it has a pretty interactive slider map there that shows you a little bit about how these fronts and pressures will work as that low kind of pushes up and the highs. But again, none of that really means anything if you don't have power and you don't have food and you don't have anywhere to go or any way to get there, no internet. So I would just get your forecast in order now wherever you are across the state, going and figure out how that impacts you the most and make plans for that.
And the timing.
Yeah,
Again,
exactly.
That's our word, and this whole thing is timing.
Yeah, North Mississippi and West Mississippi, the timing is now.
Yes, today is it.
That's it, right. So you may have a little bit more of a window in other spots, but I don't know if I'd test it too much. But again, just be safe out there. It could be a lot of fun. It could be a big mess. So.
Put it like this. It's supposed to get to the Delta and up around Greenwood and even start to sneaking into places like Oxford and not quite Tupelo because it's coming in at an angle. But that'll be tonight.
Yeah.
We're looking at it reaching down toward the Mississippi Gulf Coast, say around Hattiesburg and south of there, Sunday night.
Yeah. You've got a couple of days there, but you do not if you're in the Greenwood, Greenville, maybe even a little south of 82, go north and then basically cover everything over to Corinth in a crescent shape. And as Oxford and all that will start getting it crept in as well over to Tupelo. But 82 looks right now to be the area, and even below Highway 82 in the Delta, maybe the line of demarcation. And we've talked about that many times on this program with the weather. 82 has a lot of, linear capabilities. Don't know why, but it does seemingly work out that way quite a bit. So.
The magic of Highway 82.
Yeah, when they built it, man, they're like, this is going to be the line right here for the cold weather. And when was that built? I mean, that had to be back in the early years.
You would think so.
Before forecasts,
Yeah, I guess the question is, how far back do you go?
Yeah.
Do you go back to when it was just a trail? I mean, and do you start the clock when somebody paved it? How do you determine that?
Good question.
Because some of
beautiful
our roads,
road. I love 82. It's so hilly, and then all of a sudden you go, you straight down into the Delta, like you just parachuted out.
The Delta to where on a fairly clear day you can see next Thursday.
I can see Russia from my front porch.
Yes, Mr. Palin, you can. We continue on this Friday morning. I got some stuff. Weather
from the Seabrook.com.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I love the goat.
Well, that makes it. That's the flavor that, makes the whole dish. The goat.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love that. A great movie, too. But it feels like we're in a little bit of a good, bad, and ugly scenario with the weather. I know you had some things you wanted to cover there. So
mostly ugly. Come on. Let's just be honest. Let's call it what it is. It's ugly. I'll get into it next hour, actually, what I was going to get into, some things that I have seen from people as this whole thing has played out. But I will say this right up front. We are spoiled rotten when it comes to the weather. And here's what I'm talking about, specifically weather forecasting, because we have gotten so good over the years at forecasting the weather that if they say it's a 60% chance of rain and we only get 40% rain, well, you were wrong. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You used to, invisible sky demon spit on me. Didn't see that coming. That's where we started, and now we're here. But
invisible sky demon.
Well, but we have gotten so used to getting forecast in such a way that we pretty well know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and where it's going to happen. So when occasionally Mother Nature bows up and says, oh yeah, buddy? You think you know what's going to happen? And then changes everything about every 6 hours for an entire week. People lose their minds.
Yeah. The weather is, I mean, it's like that. You know, I remember as a kid, a lot of the older folks, that's what they would talk about. Well, the weather, you know, it's going to be hot, and the weatherman said this and that. And that was part of conversation around the dinner table a lot of times. Now it's just, you just turn on the TV, and it's right there. I was going to laugh at my dad as we would sit at deer camp because there would be games on and things to watch and all that, and then he and his buddies would just be sitting up there balled up watching the Weather Channel. I'm like, why are you watching the Weather Channel, man? You got it on your phone. Well, I'm waiting for the forecast to come around. I'm like,
yes.
Come on, this is crazy. So I'd have to sit there and listen to 18 different cities come around, and then all of a sudden, you know, here we go. Be quiet. It's like, look, I could told you that 20 minutes ago, but you're right. It's instant. It's instant gratification or instant knowledge there.
Which is just an overarching problem that we have. This is just another symptom of the same problem, which is that everyone has been led to believe that they should know everything they want to know when they want to know it. The universe does not work that way. It never has. It never will. But what we have done is perverted expectations to the point to where people lose their minds like a 2-year-old if they don't get what they want now. And it better be exactly what I wanted, and you better not mess up because I'm perfect, and I think you stink. That's the general attitude.
Well, you see it all the time, too, on things like YouTube. I do a lot of research there and listen to a lot of stuff. Mostly, I mean, I love the transcripts the most and putting it on the Alvin and the Chipmunk speed and listening as fast as you can. But the commercials that pop up are always funny to me because it's always John, and he's figured out something you don't know, and none of the doctors know it, and you've got to know this now. And you're sitting there going, who are you again? Or some dude pretending to be this and that. But, yeah, it's interesting. Everybody knows everything now. It's instant. And if you don't know, then you're a dummy. That's how advertising a lot of times on the digital stuff is. It's like, I can't believe you don't know this already. You don't know how to use pink salt the right way and all that. Like, where's all this information coming from?
It's not just digital. It's mass market advertising. We now are the proud owners of a streaming subscription that we pay for every month that still shows us ads.
Yeah,
which I find just mind-blowing. But so it's the first time in a while that I have seen broadcast television ads. I don't do broadcast television. Mm-hmm. It's insipid to me at this point. So are the ads. They are just so insincere. They're flat almost to me. But you don't really see that until you take a step back and you detox from them a little bit because you get used to it.
Yeah, I agree. You do. The old, like, Milwaukee's Best commercials and those, I love those. Those, like, it was like dudes were fishing around a campfire and, you had all these different kind of setups and, it was just, I thought commercials used to be interesting. I actually kind of get a kick out of some of the older ones. They were much more sincere. And, kind of made me want to, like when the Underalls commercial, you couldn't get away with that one anymore.
Oh, no. No. There would be picket lines.
There were some that were just awesome. And today, you just kind of get sold to. And if you haven't bought it yet, you're supposed to.
Well, and, it's I keep coming back to the word insipid because that's the first one that pops to mind. It was a year or two ago. My mom had a little procedure done at the hospital. Nothing serious. She was fine. But I spent some time in the hospital waiting room where they had the TV on and they had a talk show on, a morning television talk show. Hadn't seen any of those in a long time for many varied reasons. It was one that has now since been canceled called The Talk. Mm-hmm. It was a panel of like 5 or 6 people. That was the most ridiculous, grating thing I've ever seen. There was not a sincere human being on the screen at any point during that show. But we get that in everything now, no matter what. And I think that has led to some of this attitude of not only distrust, but disgust with anybody trying to present information.
Well, one of the things is with the digital and the streaming services, if you fall asleep during something, and especially like YouTube or whatever, when you wake up the next day and it's still on, there might have been 400 commercials that played during. I mean, if you don't hit skip, and it assumes that you want to watch those. That's one of the problems with the model is you'll start getting commercials for things that if you just fell asleep and didn't hit skip, it assumes you want them. And then so you start getting all of that. And I've had some weird commercials that start. I'm like, has somebody been using my YouTube account? And then I'll go back and look at history. And it played like 40 different podcasts over the time I was passed out. And all of those commercials just played. So it's assuming, hey, man, this guy buys a lot of stuff, man. He really needs it. And I'm sitting there going, God, how do I reverse this?
So from what I'm hearing here is your algorithm is a mess.
Yeah, my algorithm is. I mean, there's no way that you could absolutely send me an ad that I would go, yeah, no, I'm interested. I mean, it's just there's no way. So whatever they're doing, it's all over the place. I want to update on sports real quick, just because we had some game time changes for those that were interested in going to games on Saturday,
and more incoming.
Yeah, there'll be more. January 24th, Saturday, 10 a.m. is going to be the Ole Miss basketball game versus Kentucky, and that is in Lexington, Kentucky. They're used to the snow up there, so I'm sure it will go on. But they did move the game up enough to kind of get a jump start on that. Mississippi State game versus Vanderbilt has been moved up to 11 a.m. That's in Starkville. So number 15, Vandy, coming into town. So that game was I think that was an evening game beforehand, and now it is at 11. So Ole Miss 10 a.m. in Kentucky. That is going to be Vanderbilt at Starkville against the Dogs at 11 a.m. And then Southern Miss game against Coastal Carolina. That is in Conway, South Carolina. That is a 12 p.m. game on Saturday. So that kind of gets us caught up with whatever's going on as far as the changes go. And you go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt anything you were saying, but I know some folks were probably interested in that a little bit.
Yeah, need to know that. And all of those changes are specifically to make sure everybody can get back home after the game. Yeah. Trying to beat this rush. Interesting thing I just noticed, by the way, while you were giving the sports update. You go to the National Weather Service page. You go to weather.gov, and they have a national map of every county in America with all the watches and warnings and various kind of things. They have ice storm warning, which is like a plum color that they color everything in. That is basically in Mississippi. A couple of counties in Tennessee, one or two in Louisiana, the northeast corner. And aside from that, starts with the Delta and goes all the way up to the northeast corner of the state. That's the only place where they have an ice storm warning from the National Weather Service is here in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So when we say that this is going to have a major impact on us, that's not just opinion. The National Weather Service says, it's going to be real bad here.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to there is a women's basketball game for Mississippi State scheduled for January the 25th, Sunday at 2 p.m. That is in Tuscaloosa. So if you're a parent or you were intending on going, you may want to keep your eyes peeled on that one. And as far as the Ole Miss ladies, they have Tennessee in Oxford on Monday. So again, that's a 6 p.m. game. I would keep my eyes peeled for both of those to be changed. Not saying they're going to be, but the weather does overlay with these times and the area that they're in. So as Dave said, timing is everything with this, and I can't give you a definitive on that just yet.
When we come back here on Mornings, presented by the folks at Community Bank, communitybank.net, where you can go to find out more. We are going to talk about a different kind of odds. Your odds of putting a lot of money in your pocket with the Mississippi Lottery. We do that next.
From the Benable Glass Traffic.
When they ask where you heard it, you tell them.
I know you heard it. Right here.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Your chance to win. We had a Powerball winner. By the way, ticket in North Carolina. They could spend it all on insulation. It was a $209 million jackpot, cash value of $95 million. I don't know if you saw, Lance, by the way, but the person that won that $1.8 billion in Arkansas collected it. I think it was the day before yesterday.
They made it home, huh?
We don't know. We know they collected it. What happened after that, further deponent saith not. But
I'm sure Arkansas called for some NIL money.
They did. But it was a one-time lump sum cash payment, right at $900 million before taxes.
Take the money and run.
If they've got any sense at all, they will never be heard from again. They will just vanish from the face of the earth as far as all of their friends are concerned.
I have about 8 aliases for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All of the proper documents to back it up.
Yeah, we got 2 words for you. Cayman Islands. Bye. And then you move on.
I think I'm heading to Venezuela.
Also,
deals to be made down there.
By the way, your favorite game, the Mississippi Match 5, there was no jackpot winner. The estimated jackpot is now $52,000 after last night's drawing with no winner. That's because we had 2 winners recently. Back on Wednesday, a ticket bought in Sandersville matched all 5 numbers, won a $54,000 jackpot. Then back last Sunday, before that, it had just reset when they won the 54. Someone won just over $92,000 on a ticket they bought in Moss Point. Both of those from Mississippi Match 5, kind of proving your actuarial analysis that this is one of the best kept secret games that the Mississippi Lottery has going.
Definitely. I love that game.
I didn't win.
I didn't know. I was just looking at. Did you remember back when Lotto America was discontinued because of it was falling in popularity, but there was a hot lotto fraud scandal. October 28th, 2017 was the last time that hot lotto was run, and then they came out with Lotto America right after that, November 12th, 2017. I was trying to find the last winner of Lotto America, but I didn't remember that. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. There have been a lot of different
variations.
Yeah, variations and types of it. And this is the current iteration. Still a chance to win, though.
Yeah, well, no, what made me think about that is I keep getting this advertisement on YouTube with this guy going, Lotto America's going to throw me in jail because I show you how to win. I'm like, dude, when was the last time Lotto America hit? I seriously doubt they're looking for you, man. But,
no, nobody's looking for that guy. That's why he's having to buy ads. Nobody's looking for him. They're also this weekend launching a new game on Sunday, Millionaire for Life. The grand top poobah prize for that, $1 million every year for life. $1 million a year. They have smaller prizes. You can win $100,000 a year for life. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Not going to hurt my feelings one bit. It just once a year you hand me, $100,000 and I say thank you. Just deposit it in my Cayman account and we'll be good to go. Scratch offs. Do want to mention the newest one, the $30 Millionaire Maker. Had a couple of smaller winners on that. Hattiesburg woman won $1,000 and the Starkville woman won $5,000. Oxford, the other 2 college towns brought winners in on this one. You got to get busy. Get your work
buying
on.
Some tickets, yeah.
Yeah, $30 Millionaire Maker. Don't forget you can go to mslottery.com to find out more information, or .org, I should say, to find out more information about everything they have going on. You can download the Mississippi Lottery app to check your tickets quickly, simply, and easily. It was a game changer for my wife, I can tell you that, because she used to sit there and look them all up. And occasionally, after you've looked at enough numbers, you kind of start going cross-eyed, and you miss one. We've had that happen before. Or, this one didn't win anything, and then she'll try to enter it in a second chance drawing, and they say, this is ineligible, it's a winner. And she has to go back and check it again. So the app kind of takes care of that. You just scan it. It tells you if you won or not. It's a fantastic advancement. Go check it out.
I did finish my Lotto America research here. Last ticket, August 25th, South Dakota won that one, and then before that it was $3 million in April of 24. A Minnesotan won that one. So it looks like about once a year it pops.
Yeah, one winner all year last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then one the year before. Yeah,
and one in 2024.
Mm-hmm. So you take that match 5, baby.
We've had 2 winners in 6 days on the match 5.
Exactly.
So you pick your odds about how that's going to unfold. We've got news from Fox News. SuperTalk Mississippi News is on the way. And then we get down to business with hour number 2 of Mornings on, so far, a pretty nice Friday morning weather-wise. Yeah, it's not going to hold, I'm afraid. We'll talk more about that next hour. Keep it here.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
You heard it here first.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Here comes the news.
I've got to get a trench coat.
Yeah, I mean, I actually went to Cavender's and tried on a couple of, like the Roper trench coats. Just to get the leather smell on me. And I kept telling them, like, man, y'all are missing the boat here. Y'all got all these colognes over here, and the best smell in the building is the leather when you walk in the door. Y'all got to find a way to can this stuff. They're like, okay.
That's the problem, though. I've seen where they've tried with some different, I call it flavors of cologne, and they never get it right.
No. She sprayed one at me. I'm like, that's not it. That's perfumey. I'm talking just raw leather, manly smell. Like, they got a tin of Copenhagen in their back pocket,
Exactly. You can smell the skull ring on the back pocket.
Yes.
That's what you need.
Yes, sir.
All right.
One thing I had a couple birthdays, but one that was very important that we need to shout out today is Mose, one of our great listeners, and he participates so much. Thank you, Mose. And he is hitting his birthday today. So happy birthday, Mose. I hope you have a warm weekend and not froze up out there. But if you do, just take it easy and enjoy the birthday week. Don't.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, love me some Mose.
Oh, he's awesome.
Love Mose to death. Great guy.
And sincerely, from all of us, have a wonderful birthday today, sir.
Yes, and if you don't, we're going to come find you.
Yeah, we'll find you.
After everything melts, we'll come find you. We're not going to do it this weekend because,
he's in the 601, so one of us can find him, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, no, he's right down here in my neck of the woods.
Earshot, right.
He's like a county over, 2 counties over, depending on how you drive.
You also had another couple of birthdays that were pretty cool. You had Edouard Manet. He is the French Impressionist painter. Terrible student. His dad was like a French administrator, kind of a wealthy family, and he could not do well in school. His father kept sending him back, and he tried to get into the military a couple times against his wishes. Finally, when he failed the entrance exam for the Naval Academy basically twice, his dad said, okay, you can be a painter now. And so the rest is history. But I always love it when you see the French spelling of Edward. You get the O-U-A.
O-U-A, yes.
Yeah,
Edouard de Monet.
And then another big one in history, and we don't want to forget this guy here, Mr. John Hancock, the greatest signature of all time. He was never a U.S. president, though, primarily due to chronic illness and he had the gout. That's never a good thing, especially back then. It actually forced him to resign as the first president of the Continental Congress in 1774, and he skipped later sessions. While a prominent founding father, he lacked George Washington's military status and was focused mainly on his role as governor of Massachusetts. But he was the first to sign the Declaration of Independence, and he was a wealthy Boston merchant, patriot, leader, famous as the first signer of the Declaration of Independence. They basically, after he signed it, they said, hey, guys, you're going to have to tone it down on the signature. Not enough room here. Revolutionary leader and president of the Congress, first signer of it, governor, merchant, and politician. And so very well-known guy, but one of those that you would think was the president in the long list of the founding fathers, and he was not one. So just wanted to mention those two birthdays today.
That's a couple of big ones, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Mornings here brought to you by the folks at Community Bank, where they're more than just a place to manage your money. They're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. They can help you finance that generator, by the way. For decades, they've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. They are here for you every step of the way, dedicated to their customers, committed to your success, and always there when you need them. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be talking with the folks over at the National Weather Service to get the latest updated forecast information for this weekend. But I'll go ahead and tell you right now, it's not pretty. Don't be expecting good news at the bottom of the hour if you're thinking, oh, this is all just going to go away. However, let's get into what I wanted to talk about. I got a guy that I follow. You watch a lot of YouTube, as you said last hour, Lance. You probably are familiar with a guy named Ryan Hall. Does a lot of weather coverage, especially with severe weather, does a lot of good work, raises money for some fantastic events. Good guy. He is a trained, educated meteorologist. The number of comments that I read on a post he made late last night about this weather coming in, blasting him because this isn't what you said yesterday. Why do you keep changing the forecast? What's wrong with you? This is stupid. You don't know what you're doing. This goes back to what I was. This goes back to what I was talking about last hour. Everybody expects everything now, and they expect it to be perfectly right in all ways at all times, or they pitch a fit like a 2-year-old. They throw a tantrum. The biggest disservice we have done, and we're seeing it play out with some people right now with the weather, but we see it in politics, we see it in everything. The biggest disservice done to the American people was leading everyone to believe that their opinion was valuable.
I agree, yeah.
I'm sorry, you're stupid about some things. You're highly knowledgeable about some things. Yes, definitely. But that doesn't translate to every single thing on planet Earth. You've got an opinion? Great. You know what opinions are like. Everybody's got one. That doesn't mean that yours is rock solid correct, and anybody who disagrees with you is a poopy head. And that seems to be the level of discourse with a certain segment of the population. And we're seeing it play out right now with the weather forecasting. Over the last 3 days, the forecast has changed half a dozen times. At one point down here where I'm at in southwest Mississippi, we were going to get between a half an inch and an inch of ice coverage back when the forecasting started for this, back about Monday, Tuesday. As the week has progressed, they've gotten more information. Yesterday, they sent the Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance aircraft into this storm and dropped probes to get better data. That's what caused this final shift in the forecast. As you collect more data, you learn more things, and it becomes different from where you started because you're working with more information. There's nothing nefarious. There is no example here of, oh, well, this is just incompetence. No, this is learning as you move forward and you collect more data to get to a more accurate decision. We don't seem to care about collecting data anymore, Lance.
You know, that's a good point. As a profession, I spent, 16 years, and that seemed all I did was collect data. And it was, some of it you have to cull, some is valuable, and there's a lot of art form to that. But, the world we live in today is, I think you make a great point. There's so much information that it almost, people have failed to use it. It's, I don't know if it's just too much information for people to sift through. So at some point they retract and go, well, this is what I feel. It's kind of like that Tartaria or whatever. Have you gotten into that rabbit hole?
Oh, yes.
Man, Lord have mercy. I mean, goodness gracious.
If you want to kill a good 7 days, that's a great rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I guess in the face of so much information that any opinion has great validity. It has some kind of I don't know the word to use here because it's unique. I think the time we're in where, as you said, not everyone's opinion is valuable, but I think we've overkilled it where everybody has a say-so. Everybody has something to add, even if it's something that takes away a great deal from sanity. That's valuable now.
Well, I would put it like this. Everyone has valuable opinions. Mm-hmm. Not every opinion of everyone is valuable. That's the distinction we've lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are people, there's plenty of stuff I don't know the first thing about, and I would go find somebody that knew what they were talking about and listen to them. That is gone. Everybody is an instant expert on everything, and it's not helping anything. Well, basically.
And one of our great listeners texted, and like he said, I guess Galileo was a poopy head because he once thought the Earth was the center of our solar system, and everyone else didn't.
What a moron.
Yeah, what an idiot.
Dingbat.
I wanted to say something that was funny. If the Scott Besant comments that I sent to you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
If you haven't seen that clip yet of him talking about, we were supposed to be eating insects by now. But if you spend 2 or 3 days in Switzerland eating German and Swiss food, you probably would rather eat insects. I thought.
Oh, he was on fire.
They're on fire. I mean, they've been body bagging over there, man.
Yes, he referred to Gavin Newsom as Sparkle Beach Ken.
Exactly, knee pad Newsom, man.
It was fantastic. He had to go look up some of those clips if you haven't, because you're missing out.
It's been gold over there. I mean, it really has.
It was brutal. Gotta love it. We continue on this Friday morning on Mornings. Right after this, keep it here.
Down at our rendezvous. Down at our rendezvous.
From the Venable Club.
Check this out. Now, what can we offer you?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Information.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, we're moving on now. To the side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on to the side. We finally got a piece of the pie. Fish don't fry in the kitchen, beans don't burn on the grill. Took a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi Mornings on a Friday morning. One important note, I think you mentioned this, but I want to make sure we highlight it again. They did change game time for Mississippi State's basketball game this weekend. Instead of tipping at 5, they're going to tip at 11. One important detail, though, admission is free.
Nice.
If you bought tickets, you will be refunded.
There you go.
If you don't have a ticket, show up. So
fill it up, man.
Totally free to get into the Mississippi State basketball game tomorrow. Just wanted to make sure that we highlighted that.
And from our forecast, it should be, that time of day should be okay, and you should be able to get to that game and out of there without any worries and trouble. But again, I'm not Jim Cantori, so be prepared.
We can tell because when you get in town, people don't scream, pack, and leave.
Well, I thought the last picture I saw of him, he was at the Arctic Circle, and he said he was in Chicago or something. I don't know, but always
same thing.
Yeah, always it looks like it. Goodness gracious, have you seen like Lake Michigan when it's got all the icebergs in it? Man.
Well, they have already closed school for the Chicago public school system for Monday because the wind chill is supposed to be 30 below.
Wonder if in Minneapolis if this will affect any of the hot air.
No.
Probably not, huh?
No, it'll lead to turbulence.
There'll be 8 more daycares opened over the weekend, huh?
A fun update from last night, by the way, on the northern shore of Lake Superior in Minnesota, a town called Grand Marais. Last night, overnight, they had a wind chill of -56.
Negative 56. Huh?
56 below zero. You walk outside, you flash freeze.
Goodness,
basically.
One of our listeners the other day, I'd mentioned, I'm like, what's the difference in like negative 30 and negative 100? You know what I'm saying? Or like negative 15. And she said, well, look, she said, look, it's very simple. When you have hot coffee at this temp, it doesn't stay hot. If you have coffee at this temperature, it's an ice block. You know, basically that's the difference. I was like, well, that actually puts it in perspective, being a coffee drinker. Like, what is the difference when it gets that cold? Well, apparently hot water just freezes solid quickly. So that does not sound comfy.
Do want to mention, talking about the weather, yesterday afternoon, Governor Tate Reeves signed a state of emergency for the state of Mississippi, which I think was good because there is a hidden danger here. It's tiny, but there is a hidden danger. We are focusing on the cold weather and the ice accumulations we're expecting in that band from the Delta all the way up through the Oxford, Tupelo areas up in the northeast corner. Down on the coast, it's very small, but there is a non-zero chance of tornado formation. Why not? Let's just pile on, you know?
A winter tornado.
Yes, a winter tornado. You think thunder while it's snowing is bad. You got your jacket on trying to look out for tornadoes. It's a whole different thing. Like I said, it's a very low chance of it, but that chance does exist. The National Weather Service has mentioned it.
Well, you know, one of our guest hosts at times, and had been for a while until he had a little conflict with a new job with Scott Sands, and he's a big Sharknado fan. I think he's seen all the Sharknadoes. Big fan of those. So, yeah, what if we added a winter tornado and a Sharknado?
Why not?
Yeah, why not, man? We're there, right?
Is Godzilla booked? When can he be here? Let's just go ahead and pile everything on at once and deal with it.
Wake up the Kraken who's living down there around Antarctica. Some of these things are
just over 1/5 of the states in the country have states of emergency declared. There are 11 of the 50 states, including us here in Mississippi. Louisiana has one. The northwestern parts of Alabama, they declared a state of emergency for that area. Of course, Tennessee, Arkansas, all around us. But 11 states have already declared a state of emergency before the storm system even moves in. That's how serious it is.
The ones that haven't are probably either way out of the way of it or already used to winter storms, like Montana and Utah, and they're like, man, what are y'all talking about?
Well, and, California has them because they're trying to figure out how to tax it.
Well, and also how to put out a fire. They need a winter over there to cool off against some of the hot air coming out of that place, Lord.
They need a lot of things. Speaking of that, and you mentioned right before the break, World Economic Forum over in Davos, Switzerland. The farce that was Gavin Newsom showing up.
Man.
He was supposed to speak. He had a slot scheduled to speak. That mysteriously got canceled after he left to get over there, so he had to sit there in the room and listen to President Trump talk for an hour and a half and was never allowed to speak. No one gave him the time of day except for President Trump. Apparently backstage, Trump and some of his folks, Caroline Leavitt, some of the other ones, stood there talking to Gavin Newsom, having a good time, laughing, joking. Apparently at one point Trump looked at him and said, hey, we're good. We're good. Because President Trump understands something that we have lost sight of in general. Business is business. Personal is personal. If you get the two involved together, you have problems.
Yeah, we're getting a little too emotional right now.
Yes. Business is business. Personal is personal. And you can be personal and have a good personal relationship, if you will, with someone. That doesn't mean you agree with a single thing that comes out of their mouth, but you can still be nice. You can still be cordial. And that is looked upon by some people now as just a failure of moral integrity. If you're nice to someone that you don't agree with. I can't really agree with that sentiment myself.
I'm with you. I enjoy having a debate and I enjoy the conversation, and it happens better when you respect and allow the other person to speak, even if you don't agree with it. in most cases, people that are dumb or show their lack of intelligence will let you know when they open their mouth. You just got to give them a chance to do that. And,
before we came on the air, I was trying to remember, who was it that said, was it Mark Twain? Who was it that said, you can let people assume you're a fool, or you can open your mouth and remove all doubt?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think that was one of the really interesting pieces of Trump and the administration at the WEF is the buildup in the Greenland issue was a massive troll job, and he's so good at this. Chancellor Kayat taught me years ago, you ask for more than what you need when you go into a negotiation. So it gives you a place to come back to that's sane and something that you can use and something that will do what you want to do. Don't ever fail to ask for more. And that was I just sat there and listened to him over the weeks. I'm like, this reminds me of one of my mentors here talking to me about how you actually establish and set up the game.
Yes. And this entire Greenland thing, it's been building for weeks. Mm-hmm. All of that has been part of the pitch. Yep. It's been part of the plan. And we wound up, the ultimate biggest offer from Trump was to give them $700 billion plus, a big, like $1 million in each resident's pocket.
100,000, yeah.
Yeah, for us to just buy it outright. What he wound up getting was everything he wanted for free.
There you go.
So, if you want to wind up here and you tell everybody you're going for here, well, when you wind up back where you started, it's a concession that you're making at that point, and the other guy is the winner.
Well, the other two, I thought, which was very telling, was the build up to it. And the arriving there, you had all of the European countries, not all of them, but a handful, the bigger ones, were like, hold on now, we don't want America, having this kind of power, and we can defend ourselves, and let's go after America. And I think that was a very ingenious move by Trump, because he made Europe show their hand. Yeah. Now you know who is with you and who's against you, and who thinks that they can do all this by themselves over there, which history proves that most of the European countries don't like each other very much unless America makes them.
The easiest way, there is something, I've mentioned it before. It's called the one sentence persuasion course. And it boils down how you persuade people to do things into one sentence. I'll have to look it up again.
The elevator speech, right?
I don't remember. Oh no, it's more complicated than that. Mm-hmm. But one of the elements is help them throw rocks at their enemies. The easiest way to unite a group of people you want united is to give them a common enemy. Trump volunteers. And then everybody gets on board, and then he winds up working it around to where they do what he wanted them to do. Yeah. But first, you got to get them together and moving as a group. It really is brilliant the way he handles all of this.
Hey, one thing before we go, and we've got to say, but Karen in Oxford with a name for this storm, the Tornizard. I love it. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. When we come back, National Weather Service joins us. I'm sure it'll be puppy dogs, rainbows, and nothing but good news. We'll find out together right after this on Mornings.
From the Seabrook.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
The monitor switch lets you hear
breaking news. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good time. Anytime you need a payment. Good time. Anytime you need a free. Good time. Anytime you're up and under. Not getting hassled. Not getting hustled. Keeping your head above water. Making a way when you can.
Welcome back. Mornings on Super Talk, Mississippi. And we are joined now by Logan from the National Weather Service. Now, I prefaced this at the end of the last break, Logan, by saying you had nothing but good news for us today, right?
Well, I guess it depends on your perspective. There's always good news. The weather will move on, and there'll be sunny days again, but we've got some trouble first. So I guess you could say that.
Yeah, well, you got to accentuate the positive sometime. Now let's get into the reality, because starting, it looks to me, the last I saw, later tonight up in the northwest corner of the state is when things start to kick off, right?
That's right. There's going to be a transitional period, and it's going to bring impacts from primarily ice and sleet from the north to the south, but where that freezing line, where the temperatures drop down to 32 degrees Fahrenheit or below, is going to really dictate who is getting just a miserable cold rain. But at this point, a lot of folks are hoping for it, and I don't blame them. Or if they're starting to get that sleet and freezing rain, and that freezing line does begin to slip into portions of, say, Bolivar County, maybe Sunflower, and then if you happen to be visiting southeast Arkansas, we have our counties that we're responsible for over there in Ashley and Chico counties in southeast Arkansas, and those are going to be the first areas that are impacted. And then, like you said before, that's going to be late this evening and into tonight as that cold air begins to sink south.
Well, and I said this at the start of the show, and I've said it several times. The watchword for this entire system to me is timing, because that's the thing we have to remember. Some of this could still change to a certain extent, forecast-wise, couldn't it?
That's right. There's a lot of uncertainty with almost any winter weather system that we get in this part of the country, and part of that is because we have the Gulf that is just to our south, and it is a pool of warm water year-round. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going swimming this time of the year, and if you compare it to the temperatures that part of the state may have by the end of this week and into next week, where we may get down into temperatures of single digits if you're along or north of I-20, the Gulf is quite warm. And so any time we get a wind that just starts to blow a little bit from that Gulf area, that Gulf moisture, it can really raise those temperatures quite quickly. So we're almost never have a situation where we're really confident that the temperatures are going to be well below freezing, and we can really say with great confidence that what the precipitation type then is going to be. So these things are almost always subject to some uncertainty as we go along. We feel like we've been talking about this particular event for a number of days, and it still looks like that's going to happen. So far, we've had some degree of success with that, but there will be changes even from now and through the weekend.
Well, and I say that, and I wanted to get you to talk about that, to kind of offset some of the reaction I'm seeing that you are familiar with all the time, to where it didn't happen exactly like you said it was going to. What's wrong with you? This, of all weather events, this is not a frontal system pushing through. This is an entirely different mess that we're dealing with here, and we're just kind of have to roll with the punch as it comes through, aren't we?
You know, can you really say that it was wrong if the forecast was that it was going to be wrong? I say that because this was sort of what was expected, and anyone that's from this area and has paid attention know that these things change, and they change rapidly. And, you know, of course, weather folks sometimes catch the brunt of that. But that's all right by and large, and we understand people's frustrations because we're frustrated too. You can only imagine how much it's like, you know, herding cats, as they say. We have to do a whole lot just to try to get some sort of message that's coherent, because these things are extremely challenging to forecast. A lot of people, for example, maybe some sports analogies. If you're expecting a close game and you know, it's 50-50 whether you pick who's going to win or not, and then even if you're a sports fan or a sports expert, they miss quite a lot as well. And there's some similarities to that. We have two competing teams, if you will, in this situation. We have this cold Arctic North air that's doing its best to shove south, and we have that warm Gulf air that's doing its best to shove north, and the warm Gulf air is responsible for the precipitation. So without that, it would be cold, all right, but it would just be dry. And without the cold air coming in, it would be moist, but it would be very warm. So you have the rain and the warm. So you have to have both of those, and they have to be evenly balanced. And so you're sitting at either end of a teeter-totter and trying to get it to stay level. And if it tips one or the other, then everything goes wrong. So there's a lot of things that are really challenging with these systems. And trust me when I say that these are some of the most frustrating things that we as forecasters deal with. And we live here too. We're not some far off place. We are, probably down the street from more people than know. Maybe even in your own subdivision or your own apartment building, and that'd be where we live, and we're equally as annoyed by it all that we can't just exactly get these things right. But that's how they go sometimes, and I think people that are from here, maybe they express their frustrations, and we catch a little bit of that flag. But I think people generally understand.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'm going to preface this by this question with this. As the forecast stands right now, subject to change, trust me, it could and probably will change to some extent or another, but as the forecast stands right now, where are we going to see the heaviest impacts from this coming through inside the state of Mississippi?
I can tell you exactly where that's going to happen in one way of speaking, but I can't tell you geographically where that exactly is going to be. And let me explain. The heaviest impacts will be just on the cold side of where that freezing line ends up. That's where they will be. That's where the heaviest rains are going to be, and they're going to fall into air that's just cold enough to freeze it all. The further north you go, the colder it's going to be. But again, like I said before, the colder it gets, that reduces the moisture you have. So certainly they will get impacts further and further north, but they won't be as bad as they were just on that edge where it was just cold enough. Now, our best guess for where that will happen, where that battleground is going to set up, it may be anywhere from, say, Yazoo County and a line near the Trace and stretching northwest into the Delta. But there is still time for that line to shift, maybe in the county to the southeast or so, if you're in areas like Madison County and points northeast and southwest, and you might be watching very carefully. And that area right now is the area where we're had the highest uncertainty. So it's unfortunate, but it's very true. It's entirely possible, depending on how your county is oriented with that freezing line, that you could have impacts on one half of your county that are very, very minor because the temperature stayed just above freezing, but on the other half it could be quite dramatic, with maybe even over 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain bringing down power lines and trees. So that's how the fine detail this thing will end up setting up. But as that line, 32 degrees is a very specific number. If it was the summertime and I told you it was going to be 97 and ended up being 96, then trust me when I say I don't get nearly as many phone calls frustrated about that. But if I say it's going to be 32 and it ends up 33 come this weekend, there'll be some upset people.
But
so
that difference,
what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that difference, though, between 32 and 33 is the difference between a slick, ice-covered mess and just a wet, cold day, isn't it?
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. That's entirely the difference. We're talking about trying to forecast to the precision of a single degree, and it's even more complicated than that. We could go into that and discuss it a bit, but that number is extremely important, and it's very specific. And so that's what makes this really so much of a challenge.
Well, I liken it to you've got let's say a conveyor belt with apples on it, and they're all different sizes. They're perfectly gradated down from 20-inch apple. I don't know where you get that big of an apple, but work with me here. All the way down to a little tiny thimble apple. Well, you want to hit the fifth apple from the left while the conveyor belt is moving 20 miles an hour, and you've got one eye covered. That's forecasting where this is going to happen to go from 33 to 32 while precipitation is still there, isn't it?
I do love analogies, and that's a pretty good one. It's incredibly challenging. One example I give folks sometimes when we're talking about these nice edge forecast situations, it's if you picture a roof comes up to a point near the top, the gable of the roof, and you put a ball on exactly the center of it, like just on the very, very peak, and you leave it there. Which side of it's going to roll, but when it starts to roll, it doesn't just move a little. The two outcomes are so different. The ball is going to end up in your front yard or your backyard. It's not going to end up in your house. So the two outcomes are so different from a very, 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 very tiny difference at the very, very beginning. And it can be very hard to know which way it's going to roll. So that's what we're trying to do here is figure out, where's the ball going to end up. And if we pick the front yard and the backyard, you can see that the actual forecast wasn't that different. It just had terribly different outcomes. And so we're on one of those situations with this event. What we do have confidence in is that somewhere across our area is going to have a pretty rough go of it Saturday, especially in the sun.
We're up against a break. It's Logan with the National Weather Service. I know you're busy, but could you possibly stick around through the break for a couple of minutes?
Sure, I can talk a little bit longer, no problem.
Fantastic. We'll continue with Logan from the National Weather Service right after this on Mornings.
From the Venable Glass.
MRC. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Let's get on with the show.
Check it out. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings on Super Talk, Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. We've got Logan with the National Weather Service with us. And let me ask you the hardest question. This looks to be, to some extent or another, almost a statewide event, but is there any part of the state of Mississippi that you have any degree of confidence probably won't see any frozen precipitation over the weekend?
Yeah, you bring me back from the break, and you tell me to give me the hardest question. There's no producer that gave me a heads up. What's up with that?
That's not bad. I take all the credit for messing that one up.
I like to see you sweat, Logan.
A little bit. No, it's the biggest issue with the forecast for areas that are less confident. Let's say if you are north of I-20. There's a good chance you're going to get some sort of wintry precipitation. We're pretty confident in that. What the degree of that is still up in the air a bit. But if let's just say that you're, maybe in the southeast portion of our area, and you want to know what's going on. The forecast seems to have shifted, adjusted. We even had to introduce some risk for a severe weather possibility on Sunday. We can talk about that in a moment. But you're wanting to know what does that mean for you, and where does the uncertainty lie? And the difficulty with forecasting, particularly freezing rain, is that it only takes a trace amount of precipitation to fall when those temperatures hit freezing for things to become slick. Roads, a couple hundredths of precipitation, just a spritz really, will turn those roads to really treacherous. So if you were in those areas, say you're in the Pine Belt or maybe just northwest of there, and you're wondering if you have any risk, the good news I can give is that the window of time for that to happen does seem rather small. It would only be for, and you can measure this outside your own home if you have just a thermometer on your porch or sitting on your wall outside or what have you. Is if it's still precipitating and the temperatures finally go below freezing, which they will at some point, likely heading into later in the day, Sunday, maybe Sunday evening. If there is still some precipitation falling, then you will know at that point that, yes, you're having a bit of a problem, and you should probably stay off the roads for at least a short period until precipitation stops and some of that moisture has time to evaporate. The additional good news is that it shouldn't take terribly long for those road conditions in the south to improve, because we will have very dry air that comes in behind the front and behind all the rain, and we'll fairly quickly begin to work on that. And I suspect that as you head into the day on Monday, if you were in those areas, while it'll be quite chilly, quite a raw day, high temperatures struggling maybe to get to 40, even down in close to Hattiesburg as we head into Monday. But if you do that, then conditions will begin to improve for you. So what I will say, though, is if you are northwest of there, north of I-20, then your impacts could be more significant. That could go beyond mere brief interruptions of travel. So while we're not really focused necessarily on the bigger, higher-end winter impacts for those areas that are to the south, a lot of us are jealous of how they're looking right now because they may be able to avoid some of the worst of it. But do be aware that there's some caution that will be necessary, particularly if we do hang on to that precipitation a little bit longer while those temperatures finally reach down to around freezing.
Now, we've got just a minute or two left before we go to news. But you mentioned this, and I had mentioned it earlier in the morning. There is now at least a very slight chance for severe weather down in the southeastern corner of the state on Sunday, right?
That's right. And the reason for that is what we talked about before. There is a front. There's two teams. There's a battleground going on the cold side. You got wintry precipitation winning out. But on the south side, you will have that deep Gulf moisture and that warm air that hasn't been interrupted by the cold front yet. And with those strong southerly winds and strong winds aloft, there's a chance, a brief period, most likely Sunday morning, where a strong storm or two could be possible. So just be aware of that. Again, that's not terribly unusual when we have these robust cold fronts around, but it is something that we did our best not to let people be caught off guard by, and I know it's kind of unusual to see winter weather right up against severe, but not terribly unusual when you really get down to it.
Well, the temperature differential is the gas in the engine that fuels all that kind of stuff, so it makes sense. Logan, I've enjoyed this. We are basically out of time at this point. And I know you have nothing else to do for the rest of the day, I'm sure.
No, absolutely not. We are, of course, it is quite busy here. We're happy to help. We're working all day to help folks and make this as good as possible. So bear with us. We're here with you. We understand the frustration from some of it, but that's par for the course of winter storms around the South.
Logan, thank you for all you do. We appreciate your time this morning, sir.
Absolutely. Have a great morning.
You too. Logan with the National Weather Service. This hour of mornings brought to you by MWG Employer Services. It's tough to run a business. If you're doing HR, benefits, and payroll all by your lonesome, well, you don't have to. MWG Employer Services can provide a full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you. You can call them today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. We have Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then to start next hour, we'll talk to Scott Simmons with Mississippi Emergency Management, another group that's got a busy weekend planned.
He's got everything you need to know to start your day. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Now, here's more with Richard Cross.
A long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, it was warm. Mornings presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net, where you can go to find out more information. Or you can just stick around because we've got a lot of information coming now from Scott Simmons with the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, Chief Communications Officer. How you doing this morning, Scott?
Doing good. Loving the Star Wars entry walk-in. I was wondering, does that make me Darth or Vader or what? So I was trying to...
You're the hero. You're the hero, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Obi-Wan. That's where I think we're going to settle for you. Yes, exactly.
I love Obi-Wan. He's cool.
Now, we could use a little bit of the Force this weekend. And
Dave is Jar Jar Binks. That's Dave, yeah.
On a good day, yes. This weekend, let's just put it charitably and say this could be a challenging weekend for MEMA. Is that a fair thing to say?
It is a fair thing to say because it's a moving target. We try to warn residents to take it seriously, even as the storm system wobbles a little bit north. What is in our area, even South Mississippi, could sneak up and get you if you're not prepared, if you don't take it seriously. We're worried about the northern part of the state. That line, say, Greenville over to Tupelo north, right? But there's still that cone of uncertainty where we're going to have issues and problems. When the temperature bottoms out, in a normal day in central Mississippi, We have traffic problems. We have rain that gets on branches and trees. Freezing temperature comes in, brings those trees down. Trees come down on power lines. And you got a whole line of mess to deal with while those emergency responders are trying to deal with other things. The responders that deal with electrical stuff are dealing with that. That's what worries us, that people take it seriously, that they do their due diligence now while there's time before the possibility of power going out in their home and they're having to ride out for several days.
Well, and that is a distinct possibility, especially up in that northwest corner of the state and that band all the way across, as you said, up to the northeast corner of the state. There is a swath there that is projected to be some of the worst impacts in the country from this storm system as it moves through, which is the last thing you want to hear. And especially, I want to talk for a second what you just mentioned about the uncertainty here of where it's going to be. I don't think people fully appreciate sometimes how much work in advance is done by MEMA to stage equipment where it needs to be, to stage people where they need to be. And if you don't know where that dividing line is, that makes that a lot harder, doesn't it?
Years and years ago, they tried pre-positioning before events like this and found our teams getting locked in those areas because they were sitting right in the middle of the ice-mageddon, if you will. And so what we've looked at in planning over the years of experience here at this agency is pre-positioning assets that can be moved in to an area as needed. We've been answering the call over the past several days, trying to help our county and local emergency managers get what they need: cots, blankets, even tarps for when trees come down on homes. People are going to need to at least keep the damage from being even more. We're getting tarps into those counties so that they can get a tarp over that roof and limit the damage. As much prep work as we can muster, working with our local responders to help them and their boots on the ground people have what they need when the storm comes in. We keep asking people right now, do what you need to do. Make sure you have a gallon of water per person for the next, say, 3 days. We could be riding this out through Tuesday because as you talked about, Dave, whatever falls, whatever happens, the temperature is not going up. It's going to be wicked freezing, right? And so that ice is going to stick around. You're going to have black ice. You're going to have slippery roads. You're going to have power lines go out. When the grocery stores go out, you can't just hop in the car and run over to Kroger for another gallon of milk if there are power outages in your community. Think about that now.
Well, that's exactly right. And those are all important things, but I worry sometimes. It seems like that's the only preparation some people make is get some ingredients for a milk sandwich and then go home and go, I'm ready. There's a lot more to it than that, isn't it?
We tell people, start thinking now of practicalities outside of your home. Have you wrapped your water spigots? And I echo this all the time. You don't have to run to the hardware store to buy a cone cover. Go take a towel and wrap it around that outside water faucet. Take some newspaper and some electrical tape and wrap that around a pipe or a spigot. That limits that cold exposure getting to those pipes and putting your pipes at risk. Think about maybe just running a bathtub and having some water on standby for other practical uses that you may not think of now but may need later. Canned goods. How can you heat your home if the power goes out? We've heard of people who say, well, I have an electrical plug-in heater I can use if the power goes out. Bless their heart. There's no power. It will run. Think about that. You got a grill outside, propane grill. Think about that. Think about using that. If you need to, you can use that to cook your food and prepare easy meals and ride this out. There's some very smart steps and easy steps to take. We have it all on our website at the msema.org website that we run. We have a whole page dedicated to this ice event, this freeze event, and with tips and things that you can find that can hopefully help you weather this.
Because every person who is able to handle at least some portion of this from their preparations eases the strain on the response folks who are out there trying to get everything back together. Every little bit helps in this area. I was a journalist for some 30 years, and I was the guy who stood in the storms
And the thing that always frustrated me the most were the people who were out joyriding because they wanted to look around. Well, oftentimes those people ended up in a ditch because they were driving the Ford Fairlane and they got caught in the slippery spot. So they needed a tow truck to come get them. Well, guess what? Everybody's maxed out in the midst of a storm like this. So I tell people, make sure you have some stuff in your car. Make sure you have a blanket or two. Make sure you have bottled water, some dry foods. Because that could happen. If you're out joyriding, looking around, you slip off into the road, you could be there for a while. Can you ride it out in your car for 3-4 hours? Think about that. Most importantly, though, don't get out on the road if you don't need to. The fewer people that are on the road, the fewer taxation we have on our emergency responders, allowing them to focus on the other business at hand. They're going to be busy over the next several days. If you have an emergency, call 911. Don't hesitate. That's what it's for. Please try to avoid calling 911 to ask about what the temperature is or things like that.
And that is the problem, I think, that's baked into the way the world is today with continuous 24/7 access through the internet, through your phones. If all of that goes away, well, you've got that burning need to know everything right now, and you'll misuse some things like 911 to find out stuff that, I'm sorry, it's not critical that you know exactly what the temperature is outside right now. Leave them alone. The phones are always more than busy enough at dispatch centers without additional calls.
We push people to our website all the time. You know, it's all there for you. SuperTalk has a great website too. Get the information. Think about how you're going to charge your phone if your power goes out. Make sure you have your portable banks, phone chargers charged up now. Don't try to do it tomorrow and then the power goes out and you don't have a plug-in. Start thinking about ways to have energy to use. Make sure you have batteries. Make sure you have flashlights. Like I said, I've talked about the bottled water. That's so important. But until you don't have water, it's not a problem. But if a pipe bursts, then you don't have water access. You got a problem, don't you, on a number of fronts. So think smart. Do some stuff now that'll save everyone a lot of trouble in the next 48 hours.
Well, if you have a pipe that bursts in the middle of this, it may be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week before anybody can get there to take a look at that. That's kind of what you're talking about, isn't it?
Right, and spending so many years talking about Jackson's water crisis, I would always remind people, it's freezing right now. Now's not the problem. The Yazoo clay that we all stand on contracts during the freeze. It squeezes that pipe. That's not your problem. It's a day or two after the freeze when the ground expands and that burst pipe now is expanded and it's leaking. That's what will continue to be the problem, certainly in the capital city area that still has at least a decade of work before it can remove at least the majority of those old and antiquated pipes that will continue to burst because of freeze events like that. And even in the other cities, the public works are able to better respond, your Brandons and Pearls and Clintons, because their pipes are not quite as aged. But the capital city still is fighting an uphill
Hold that
battle.
thought, Scott. Hold that thought, if you would. We're up against the break. We got to go to the break. When we come back, if you can stick around, we'll continue talking with Scott Simmons from Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. And I want to talk about...
From the Venable Glass.
This is Mornings with Richard Cross.
Let's do it.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Okay, so we walked Scott in with Star Wars in the first segment. Now we're walking him in with Indiana Jones. We have 2 data points we can confirm. Scott Simmons with MEMA is Harrison Ford. We've now isolated exactly what's going on. Good to have you with us, Mr. Ford. Sorry to have interrupted you. The breaks are hard time. There's nothing we can do about that. But I did want to talk to you for a moment about some basic safety things that sometimes people don't really think about. I'll give you one example that comes to mind. If you have a generator of some type and it's not pre-installed by an electrician. There are a million different things that can go wrong with that, up to and including don't put the generator in your den and crank it. It doesn't work that way. Not for long anyway, right?
I hate to say it, that I've seen it where people have put generators right there in their carport by the back door, the exhaust going into the house. If you're running a generator, make sure it is far enough away, at least covered, but far enough away where you're not getting those dangerous gas fumes. Think about some smart things. If you're using a heater, a portable heater in your house, put that thing in the middle of the room. Don't put it near a couch or a drape or a bed sheet, something that could fall on top of it, because those are how fires start. Don't leave it running overnight while you're sleeping on the side of the room. Once a fire gets going, you can be in a big mess there. We warn people also, when the power lines go down, when you have power outages, everybody wants to get out and walk around and look. Pay attention to what's on the ground. Those power lines are hot. And the biggest fear I had as a journalist so many times was I was going to step on a hot power line. Energy crews hadn't gotten there yet. Southern Pine hadn't gotten there yet. And so those lines are still hot. We ask people, if a tree comes down and it's wrapped in power lines, don't whip out the chainsaw and just start trying to whack away. That power line wrapped around that tree could still be hot. You get to it, touch it with your chainsaw, and we've got a new set of problems. Use some common sense. Try to limit your sightseeing. It's just so important that you're cautious. Slipping on the ice happens. That's how you crack your noodle, right? Think about when you're walking, try not to walk on the ice, get in the grass where it's more mushy as opposed to the street. Little things like that can help you avoid creating a bigger problem. Just try to be smart. We hope so.
One other thing to do with generators, and you talking about live power lines, most people don't realize if it's not hooked up properly, if you're going to hook it into your breaker box on your house, you crank the generator up, it may energize a line that the response people that are there to fix the lines think is dead. It's not, and you'll cause problems and serious risks for them if you just crank that generator up and feed it back into the system. It's got to be hooked up correctly if you're going to use a generator that way, right?
We know linemen are trained professionals. They do their due diligence when they get to a house. They ask the questions, is there any other power source feeding through this system? But you need to be wary of it. If you plug a line in and you haven't checked the system, it could overload a circuit. It could overload a line. It could cause an electrical fire in your own home. Not to mention putting responders at risk when they arrive. So if you have one rigged into your inverter box, make sure you're letting responders know what you have going, and be cautious, because if it's not professionally or properly installed, you can have big problems. So often people will set up that generator, make sure it's far enough away from a door or window, have that to keep up their refrigerator, there's some of the electronics, maybe a portable heater. Don't overload that thing. And if you're rigging it into the house, make sure it's done correctly.
And that's going to take an electrician. It's going to take somebody that knows what they're doing.
A little bit of expense on the front end can save you a ton of money and problems on the backside.
Yeah, you may spend a little bit now, but you'll still have a house this time next week. And I'm not even exaggerating. That's literally what the difference could be. So as we do all these preparations and we get ready for this storm coming in, I know you guys are ready to mobilize and go out statewide wherever the problems are, but people still need to have a little patience, right?
Everybody's going to have to realize it's going to take longer for emergency responders to get anywhere, more so in the northern parts of the state. We have regional supervisors, 9 parts of the state, teams that are in those areas ready to respond. We have drone teams positioned in each of those districts in our state so that they can respond. If heaven forbid they have to look for somebody, whatever, we can throw a drone up in the air. It has heat signature that will pick up anything down below. We have those things. But again, when you're dealing with disasters like this, specifically ice storms, nobody is moving fast. Certainly not emergency responders. They're already being taxed. So everything is going to take longer. So you have to remember, you have to take smart steps now hopefully, to limit the problems that you may face later. I talked about the vehicle problems. Again, put it in the trunk of your car. Throw a blanket or two. Throw a couple of bottles of water. Throw some snacks or munchies. Set it in a bag in there. Because nobody ever expects to be caught on the side of the road, right? Everybody plans to go to the grocery store and let's have a flat. But it happens. They slip off the side of the road. It's going to take a tow truck longer to get to you than a non-event like we're dealing with now. So be patient and be ready to wait. They're going to get to you as fast as they can. We all are marshaling as many resources as we can here at MEMA and with our county emergency responders to try and make sure that residents get all the help they can get.
Well, and let's take just a moment to give a shout out to those county emergency responders. Your county civil defense directors, emergency response people, they are kind of the backbone of MEMA in a way, aren't they?
They are the point of the spear, and we work so hard to help them and coordinate with them in their counties because they know the lay of their land. They've reached out to us for things, asking us for cots, for blankets. We talked about tarps. We've been moving generators into key areas for warming centers to make sure that we can keep certain areas up and running just for a warm place for someone to go to. We have been working with them because they are the point of the spear in dealing with emergencies in their counties. We are there to support them and the rest of the state, of course, as we get through this apparent problem that's headed our way.
Well, the timing on it, we were just talking to Logan over at the National Weather Service before you came on. The timing of it really up in the northwest corner is going to start tonight, and then it's going to spread throughout the weekend down towards the southeast corner of the state. If it's not a problem where you're at, good job so far, but it's still coming. So still be prepared, still be vigilant, and make sure that you're doing everything you can to kind of take care of yourself as much as possible, because that's going to make the folks at MEMA's job a lot easier, I think. If you had one wish, what would it be? Everybody just be prepared and ready to go?
If I had a wish that no one would get hurt, because MEMA is about helping people, and that's all we care about. We just want to make sure nobody gets hurt. We want to do everything we can to limit the impact of a disaster, but also important to help them recover, which we will. I ask people, just think about right now your loved ones. Think about your senior citizens. Are they covered? They may not have a backup plan on what they're going to do. Please check on your neighbors, the people that you love and care about, to make sure that everyone is covered. If your house loses power, but their house does not, maybe you can move over there to them and everybody stay warm. I ask people just to be smart, pray, and be patient.
Scott Simmons, he is the Chief Communications Officer with Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. He is close to having had his last little nap of sleep for the next few days. So we appreciate you taking some of your potential nap time to spend it with us this morning, Scott. And I would wish you luck, but when you're good, you don't need luck. So I'm just going to wish you continued successful implementation. How about that?
I'll take all the good blessings, and God bless Mississippi, and we're going to get through this. Just be smart and help your neighbors. That's what we ask.
Scott Simmons, thank you so much. Enjoyed talking to you, man.
Always a pleasure calling, Tom.
Keep up the good work over there. It's going to be a weekend. Just telling you that right up front. It's going to be a weekend. But as Scott just said, we'll get through it. We'll get on the other side. It'll be fine. Little update. I told you about the wind chill at Grand Marais, Minnesota on the northern coast of Lake Superior. Got an update on that. The wind chill as of an hour ago was 61 below up there. They're used to cold weather. They're not used to that. And that kind of is a bit of an understatement. There are other problems. You heard Scott talking about the potential for fender benders and other types of accidents, whether it be involving power lines or whatever. Well, that can lead to a surge in requests for blood at medical centers. And we've got Kasey Dickson we're going to talk to next with Mississippi Blood Services because they already have a problem. Let's get this taken care of in advance. We'll talk to Kasey when we come back here on Mornings on Super.
From the Seabrook Dock.
Since you're up early, you get the news first. Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Welcome back to Mornings on a Friday morning, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. You can find out more there. We are joined now by someone, there's a crisis situation heading in over the weekend, but they've been dealing with a crisis situation for a little while now. Kasey Dickson at Mississippi Blood Services. How are you this morning, Kasey?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me on here. Doing really good.
Well, it's really an interesting angle on this that I think we need to shine a little light on, because we have been, it feels like we've been in a critical blood shortage area for about 8 years now. That's what it feels like. But this weekend, most people don't think about it that way, could actually increase the demand for blood due to accidents and other problems, right?
That is absolutely correct. And that's what we're trying to get the message out early enough so everyone can come in and donate ahead of time, just so we can be prepared in case of those emergency situations.
And by emergency situations, we're talking about a car accident because, somebody decided they had to get out, or they just wanted to get out while the roads were icy and you wind up in a bad situation. People could accidentally touch a power line. You could have trees fall on things. There's a lot of different ways things can go wrong. And when those things do go wrong, that's not the time to rush and try to give blood. You're a little late at that point. Explain the process of how this works. If somebody comes in to donate blood, it's not available within 30 minutes to the hospitals, is it?
No, sir, it's not. It takes, once the blood has been received from the donor, it does have to go through a testing process just so we can make sure it's safe and everything is cleaned up before it is administered to an individual in a situation like that. So if you're going into the weekend, a lot of you mentioned the accidents, those would be taking place. So the inventory there is going to be used immediately. We're also looking at situations where oncologists may have to have a blood transfusion. So if anyone's coming in for transfusions that were scheduled for today or this weekend, that blood may be used for an emergency situation. So they will be postponed or rescheduled to avoid them coming in during the during the weather situations this weekend. So we want to make sure that we have the blood available and ready to be in their stock and in their inventory, so when those patients come back in next week, they don't have to wait any longer than necessary. So we're trying to get those individuals ahead of the game, just like Scott was talking about, being prepared when you go into, even if you're going to the gas station, make sure you've got things already prepared. What we're hoping to do is keep our doors open long enough to get that blood supply in here so we can begin the testing process and have it quickly available as soon as the hospitals and so forth are starting to administer all of these additional procedures.
Now, let's go through some of the standard things. One thing, because I know everyone's time is limited, this is not an all-day process when you want to come and give blood.
No, of course not. Depending on the gift that you have available to give, it can range anywhere from a 30-minute process once you get on the bed to maybe an hour and a half. It all depends on the process for the individual. Everyone is different. So if you're coming in, you're already hydrated, you've already had a good meal prior to the donation, the blood flow is going to go out a lot faster and a lot more efficiently.
So you're telling everybody to go have lunch, basically.
Go have lunch. And the best part is, afterwards, we're going to, especially this weekend, Saturday, we're extending our hours of operation until 4:30, and we're offering a $20 gift card to those individuals that come in. And on Sunday, we're actually opening our doors on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., trying to get, again, we know that the situation in the area is going to start coming into our neighborhoods. So we're hoping that we'll have enough time and have some individuals come in on Sunday as well to get that blood supply available. And we're giving away a $20 gift card on Sunday.
And this is very much an all-hands-on-deck situation, but in a lot of areas people might not think, because people might be a little surprised to hear that you guys are doing extended hours because we have bad weather coming in, but those two have a definite connection in terms of the amount of blood usage. Where are we at on blood levels in the state of Mississippi right now? I know it's critical. It almost always is, it seems like these days, but where do we stand on that? And where do we need to be? How much more do we need?
Well, the answer to the question is more along the lines of where do we need to make sure we stay, like you were saying, we want to make sure that we have the right products to help the patients that are in need. So, sadly, you don't know for sure what those needs are going to be, especially in emergency situations like this. So we want to be able to say that the products coming in, we're at least hitting our minimum standard of donations. And over the last couple of weeks, especially coming out of the holidays and a lot of people were traveling, that availability during the day has decreased. So we're still able to supply the blood that we want to help with the patients in the hospitals, but we want to make sure that we have that inventory always available and we're not in a critical situation. So we want to get that donations back up to our standard for every day and possibly increase that volume coming in. Basic blood types right now that we definitely need are O's and B's. So if you are one of those individuals and you're eligible, you're healthy, you're not being impacted by any of the flu or any types of other situations of that nature, we desperately encourage you to come in and donate. Open today, Saturday and Sunday, like I mentioned.
And you touched on it just there, but very quickly, what are some of the things that would prevent you from being able to come and give blood? Because you mentioned the flu, perfect example. If you're sick, don't go in there and breathe on everybody. But what other limitations might there be?
So depending on the individual, it's all individually based. So, sometimes when you travel outside of the country, there are limitations on when you can give blood. There's also different types of medication that if the individual is on, it prevents them from giving blood, different types of procedures that they have recently gone through. But all of those questions can be answered through our website. We have a link on our website at msblood.com. You can go to frequently asked questions or our resource guides, and it has all of that broken down for you, so you can do a little bit of preamble research before coming in. But if you're unable to do that and you just want to call and ask real quickly, you can definitely just call our front desk, and we have phlebotomists available that can help answer.
You can answer the more detailed questions, if you will.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's a very simple process. You've done everything possible to streamline it, and you're handing out money. You're handing out gift cards.
Handing out money. And we're handing out snacks afterwards. So, we're famous for our snacks. Everybody loves those.
What's the top snack right now? What's the big one everybody goes for?
Either the Nutty Buddy, the crackers, or some of the chips.
I'm kind of a Nutty Buddy guy myself. I'm going to be honest with you, because
most people.
that's some good stuff. Kasey, come on.
It's really, really good. I know.
Now, go over the special hours again this weekend and where they can go to give.
Okay, so we went ahead and closed our Oxford location and our Cleveland location because they are going to be impacted by the weather. So we have got our Flowood location on Lakeland Drive. It will be open today. It will also be open tomorrow. We've extended the collection hours until 4:30 on Saturday, and we've extended the hours opened the hours on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Both of those, again, on Lakeland Drive.
All you got to do is go out. A beautiful facility. I've been there several times, and I just love that building. It's so well done. And you just feel welcome when you walk in the door. And don't take my word for it. Prove it to yourself. Stop by there and leave some blood behind this weekend, because
please do. That's right.
If you give 1 pint of whole blood, you're saving up to 3 lives when you do that. That's how
correct.
important it is. And that's the best return on investment I think you'll find anywhere. So go and take advantage of the opportunity to help some people out, and go see Kasey. And Kasey, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, and hopefully we completely blow the goals out of the water for the weekend so that we're ready for anything that comes over the next several days. That's my hope for you.
Thank you so much, and that's our hope as well.
Kasey Dickson with Mississippi Blood Services. Hopefully we'll be able to get an update from her next week on what an incredible donation weekend that it has been, but that will be up to you. You have to go by and donate. Otherwise, it's not going to be the kind of update we want. The latest information on the weather, by the way, got a list of a few towns in Mississippi, all the ones you would expect, all the ones that you're thinking about, and we'll talk about those when we come back with some of the more firmed up forecast details that have now been revealed. Just keeps getting better and better, he said with false optimism. Final segment of Mornings on this Friday up next.
From the Venable Glass.
With Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Sneaking back in for the final segment of Mornings presented by Community Bank. A Community Bank, they're here for every part of your financial journey. If you're looking to manage your personal finances, their banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. For decades, they've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. They are there for you every step of the way. They're dedicated to their customers, committed to your success, and always there when you need them. A Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. We're getting new forecast information in, and it's Lance basically is just confirming what we already knew. They now have an extreme risk in place for the northeastern corner portions of it, of the state of Mississippi, up around Tupelo, Oxford, in that area, which is kind of what we already knew. The exact list that I have seen, the advice is if you're in Corinth, Oxford, Clarksdale, Tupelo, Holly Springs, Grenada, Greenwood, Belzoni, Indianola, or Cleveland, you need to be prepared to be home for about 3 days and deal with whatever that means. Now, in those areas, we have forecast ice totals. And again, this is forecast. You could get less, could get more. But the latest forecast, 0.8 of an inch to 1.1 inches of ice. That's enough to basically wreck the power grid. I'm not talking about spotty outages. I'm talking about everybody going down if that comes to pass. So you need to be prepared for 2 or 3 days before your lights come back on. And during that period, while you're waiting for the power to be restored, it's going to be single digits outside. So the preparations look a little bit different than they would for a hurricane or a severe weather event of some other type. Make sure you've taken all of the necessary, appropriate precautions to be ready for this, particularly in how to stay warm. That's going to be the big one, because we don't want to be talking about any tragic stories next week, and we don't have to, as long as everybody takes care of their business. I'm going to assume, Lance, you're not going to your camp this weekend.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I made sure I was up there a couple of weeks ago to winterize everything, knowing it was kind of coming. But, I mean, if I could sneak off and not get caught up there in it, I would go. But, I mean, it's just too risky, you know.
Yeah, well, you're there until Wednesday.
Yeah, well, and I got to work Monday, so yeah, I don't think that Will or those would be very happy with me if I got marooned in Issaquah County and said, "Hey guys, I just can't come back. It's too icy."
There would be grumpiness.
Yeah, I'll probably just ride it out here, stay safe, eat good, get some rest, and play with the dogs, you know, and maybe make an ice angel or something.
I want to leave you with something. The weather guy on CBS's New York station, okay, doing the weather this morning and running through the historic snowfalls in New York City.
New York City?
Well, he's got them laid out. January 7th, 1996. The second biggest one was February 11th, 2006. Currently, the biggest one before this weekend was January 22nd, 2016. And now here we are at 2026. He actually pauses in the middle of his presentation and says, "What's with all the sixes? Why is it every 10 years almost exactly that we have the biggest winter weather event of history since we started measuring this stuff every 10 years like clockwork since 1996.
I think it was the Tartarians. Probably. That might be one.
You went deep down that rabbit hole, didn't you?
I mean, it's just one of those topics you're sitting there going, how much more bizarre can it get? So just kind of keep going until you get to the bottom of it, and you're like, okay. Or maybe it was in the Mayan calendar. Didn't they have like 4 or 5 different little wheels going?
Yeah, but that one ran out several years back.
That's over now. Huh?
You know, that's a paperweight now is all that is. I would like to leave you with one non-weather related thing as well. A little discussion topic. You know, they put out the trailer. I don't know if you've seen it for the new He-Man live action movie.
No, I haven't seen it, no.
Yeah, it just came out yesterday, I think it was, or day before.
I have the power.
Yes, exactly. Jared Leto is playing Skeletor. Actually, he looks really good. What we've seen
he can pull it off, yeah.
But it starts with Adam, what's his name? I can't remember his last name, the guy who
Driver.
is He-Man.
Driver, right?
No, it's the character name. It's Adam.
Yeah.
And they show him, it starts out with him in our world working an office job, and he has a nameplate that says Adam, he/him. Obviously a joke.
I'll be missing that one.
No, he's He-Man. Everybody is getting upset because He-Man is using pronouns.
Yeah, wow.
That's literally his name.
Yeah.
We've got to start picking our battles. Oh, that's so woke. Well, when he came out in 1982 and they named him He-Man, I don't think that was a concern. Nobody was thinking in those terms. Just my thought. A little something to discuss and ponder over the lovely winter weekend that we have. Stay safe. Make all of your necessary precautions.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.